And the plan is that at least for 45 minutes or thereabout, we allow our speaker the floor. And after he finishes, we would take Q&As. We would allow a few people to speak, but also if you have questions, please just go into the chat box, drop your questions there, and we would also pick questions from there. At the end of the session as well, we will be able to share the slide with everybody that has joined so that you can also have it for your records and you can read that, go through it at any point you feel is appropriate. So without much ado, I'm going to introduce our guest, Mr. Adebayo Adeyinka. I'll take a short citation for him before I yield the floor to him. Mr. Bayo studied mechanical engineering and graduated from the Ladoke Akintola University of Technology in Ogbomoso. He also had his MBA from the same institution. As an undergraduate, he was the Students' Union. He was the president of the Student Union of the university. And he also served as the youngest member of the Oyo State Vision 2010 committee. After graduation, he started a career in banking, which has now spanned close to 20 years. He has worked, of course, in a number of banks, including National Bank of Nigeria, Devcon Bank, Assurance Bank, Standard Trust Bank, now United Bank for Africa, Standard Chartered Bank, where I met him. He was one of my very big bosses in those days, Enterprise Bank, which is now Heritage Bank, and Fidelity Bank, where he is currently working. At Standard Chartered Bank, he started off our branch in Ibadan and was the branch manager. Eventually, he moved to lead of the bank in Apapa and Ajosi Adeogun. Also at Enterprise Bank, he was the regional head of the Victoria Island region. And when the bank was acquired by Heritage Bank, he was deployed to Ibadan as the regional head for Southwest 1, comprising of Oyo, Ogun, Osun, and Kwara states. Presently, he is the regional bank head for Southwest 1 region at Fidelity Bank, where he supervises all the branches in Oyo, Ogun, and Ondo states. Bankers in Nigeria, a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Loan and Risk Management of Nigeria, and importantly, a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Professional Financial Managers. He's currently Deputy General Manager with Fidelity Bank. He's very versatile in commercial and retail banking. So if you have any commercial needs, you can always reach out to him at the end of the session. And he has cogent experience in wealth management, which is part of our team for today. How do we invest? How do we manage our wealth for ourselves and, of course, for future generation? And he works on SMEs, credit analysis, project structuring, turnaround management, product development. And he has, of course, a very, very strong business communication skill, leadership, and people skill. He's involved in mentoring and training, and he has also published 3 books to his credit. His 3rd book in the series, 30 Career Lessons I Learned Along the Way, was released in December 2018, and of course is one of the best sellers. So after this, we can provide you more details on how you can get some of his books. Numerous interventions and articles are well known in the social media space and published by a newspaper. In October 2017, he spearheaded a social responsibility intervention that led to the payment of fines and release of 27 prison inmates at Kirikiri Medium Prison, Lagos. He also led the Fund Lautech initiative, where together with a team of 4 people, they brought a national awareness to the plight of Ladoke Akintola University of Technology, Ogbomoso. They raised a total of over 9.4 million through a crowdfunding initiative, and all of that fund was donated to the university. Of course, part of the fund spun off internship opportunities for undergraduates of the university while they waited for the impasse in the university to be resolved. He has a public school in Ibadan, which he has adopted for the past 3 years, among other social interventions. He is married to Abimbola and they have a daughter. He always aspires to be among the top 10 in his career, in addition to being an example to follow, the standard to beat, a role model, and always staying on the cutting edge in all that is done. Join me as I welcome Mr. Bayo Adeyinka.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Good morning. I hope you can hear me. Good morning.
Morning.
Okay, I'm happy to be here this morning, and I want to thank the Vicar, Venerable Ladende. Thank you so much for putting this together. I'm happy to also see my very dear colleague, Aderogba Taiwo. Thank you so much for inviting me, for having me here this morning. I want to thank everybody who is part of this webinar. Thank you so much for having me here, and I trust that we'll be able to glean some information here, get our families better, get our lives better, especially as we look at this very, very important topic this morning. So I'm going to be speaking on investment principles and God's system of wealth. Basically, what I plan to do is to spend about 45 minutes to take this teaching, and then we'll take about 10 to 15 minutes to take a few questions that anybody may have. So let's just go right into the webinar. I'm going to talk about 7 investment principles, which I'll focus on. And after I speak about the 7 investment principles, I'm going to talk about God's system of wealth. I'll be sharing some very personal stories. I like to make my teachings very, very interactive and very practical. So I'll be sharing a lot of real life examples. And since this is also a church, we'll be looking at some portions of the scriptures here and there, you know, and I trust that God will teach us some things this morning. So let's just go right ahead into the webinar. Okay, so let's look at 7 investment principles. Now, this topic is coming at a very important time, because I believe that every family is looking forward to how can we make our lives better? Okay, what can we do? Especially 2020 has been a year that has been very, very stretching for a lot of families, for so many people. Okay, so many people's income have been affected. There was the lockdown, then there was the EndSARS protest. You know, some families have experienced a total change in their income. So it's very important that we look at this particular topic at this very time. So let's just go ahead and look at the 7 investment principles. So let's look at investment principle 1. Okay, the very first investment principle. Have a plan. If you're going to invest, the very first thing you need to do is to have a plan. Of course, all of us will be saying, if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. Okay. And having a plan starts with you assessing your current financial situation. What's your current financial situation? We need to get to a point where we are brutally honest with ourselves. You are sincerely honest with yourself, and you sit down, okay, possibly take out a book and begin to look at your current financial situation. Where are you? Okay, what's your income? What are your expenses? All right, what's your current financial net worth? You need to be able to sit down and assess your current financial situation. That is the very first step of financial planning. Okay, that's the very first step to financial planning. Assess your current financial situation. Where are you? Are you actually making any income? If you're a business person, what profit do you make, or you are barely breaking even? What are your expenses? You need to be able to list them one by one. Okay, your household expenses on a monthly basis. You know, that's what we call budgeting. So every family or an individual, if you don't have a family, must start with that plan. And that plan starts with you sitting down and drawing up a budget for yourself. Okay, what are your income? Okay, or what are the expenses? Now, when you now back out the expenses from the income, you now have what you call your disposable income. Your disposable income is what is left after you have removed your expenses, and what is left is what you can use to invest. So the first step is for you to critically examine your budget. Now, there are a lot of people that are in debt right now, okay? And what that means is that your expenses is more than your income, okay? What you are spending on a monthly basis is more than what is coming in for you. And as long as what you are spending is more than what is coming in as income for you, you will always be living from hand to mouth. So the first step is for you to sit down and assess your current financial situation. There is no way you can go ahead with your investment plans without you doing this. Okay, so what is your disposable income after you have removed the expenses? So for some people, maybe what you need to do is to look at your situation, look at your debts, and how are you going to repay those debts before you can now talk about investments. Now, after you have looked at that and you have assessed your current financial situation, the next thing you need to do is to define your investment goals. Define your investment goals. Now, there are three basic reasons why all of us invest. Whatever age bracket you are, whatever situation of life you are, whether you are facing retirement or you are retired, whether you're a young person that is just planning for the university or you are planning for a family, whether you are someone who is just working or you are middle income class, whatever bracket you are, there are three major investment reasons. Okay, you are either investing for safety, for growth, or for income. Let me say that again. There are three major reasons why all of us invest. We can put those investment reasons into three major buckets. You are either investing for, number one, for safety, or number two, you are investing for income, or you are investing for, number three, for growth. Now, if you're investing for safety, it just means that you want to maintain your current level of wealth. All right, maybe you're going into retirement, you're doing retirement planning, and you know that the income will not come like it was you experienced or you were getting the income before. So you want to plan for your retirement. You want to plan for the future. You don't want the state of your living standards to fall below what it was when you were actively involved in your work. So you are investing for safety. So many people invest for safety. Okay, you can also invest for income. That means you want extra income to live off. You're planning a wedding, you're planning a marriage, you're going to have a family, your kids are growing up and they're going to go to the university, you're expecting a baby with your wife, and you know that definitely you have more mouths to feed. You know that expenses are going to increase. So you want to invest so that you can have extra income for you to be able to live off. So that's the second reason for investment. Or you want to invest for growth. Growth means you want to build wealth over time. You want to build wealth over time. So you may be thinking of maybe starting another line of business, okay? Starting an additional stream of income so that you can build your wealth over time. So those three reasons are the major reasons why we invest. You are either investing for safety, you are either investing for income, or you are investing for growth. So when you decide to sit down and then to write your plan, you also need to look at how will you achieve your goals? That savings goals, that investment goals that you have, how are you going to achieve them? So it's not just enough for you to write goals and say, I want to invest 5 million naira over 3 years, or I want to save 1 million naira before the end of this year. It's not just enough for you to sit down and say that. How exactly are you going to achieve those goals? Are you going to achieve those goals through savings? You want to save consistently or on a consistent basis? Or you want to sell some assets and then invest the proceeds of those assets? Or you want to have an additional stream of income? How exactly are you going to achieve those goals? If you don't sit down and write how you will achieve your goals will just be hanging somewhere in the air. It will be ambiguous. It will not be something that you'll be able to break down into achievable bits. So it's important for you to not only define your investment goals, you need to be able to find out how you will achieve those goals. And of course, you'll be looking at what kind of investment are you looking at? Are you looking at liquid assets? Liquid assets are assets that you can easily convert to money. So are you looking at liquid assets? Are you looking at real estate? Are you looking at an additional business? Are you looking at investing in the money market? Okay, so those are areas you need to be able to sit down and define. What kind of investments are you looking at? And you should be realistic. You should be realistic. It is unrealistic to have somebody who is earning maybe an income of 20,000 naira on a monthly basis and who is drawing up grandiose plans. You'll be building your castles in the air. So you need to be very, very realistic, understanding where your current financial situation is and how you are going to progress. And then you will review your plans periodically. Okay, so having a plan means that you need to sit down and say, on a monthly basis, I review my plans. On a quarterly basis, I review my plans. On a half-yearly basis, I review my plans. At the end of the year, I also review my plans so that I can plan again for the next year. Okay, so the first step or the first investment principle is having a plan. Okay, so let's look at the second step right now. The second step is investigate before you invest. That's the second investment step. Investigate before you invest. Now, let me just share some personal story with us here. I'm sure a lot of us can recall some years back when there was this rush of MMM, okay, or the rush of a lot of these Ponzi schemes. And people come and say, invest so amount of money, and then you are going to get a return of this amount in the next 3 weeks or in the next 4 weeks. And the whole thing went viral all over the country. And people were just taking out their personal savings and putting it in some of these funds without actually knowing what those funds were doing. And at the end of the day, it turned out that those funds managers, in quotes, were actually not doing anything. Okay, they were just robbing Peter to pay Paul. It was just Ponzi scheme that was all over the country. And I remember that time, you know, I remember I just got an allowance from the bank where I was working at that time. And a friend of mine told me about one of these schemes, and one of the people running it, I happened to know the person, the wife of the person, we're going to the same church. So I thought, oh, this is nice. Okay, we're going to the same church. Nothing will happen to my funds. Okay, and I went there, I took the money, I went to pay it into the bank, and 2 weeks after, I just saw a group of people gathered in front of the office. Okay, of course, the fund managers had run away. A lot of us were out of pockets, and before we knew what was happening, my money was gone. My money was gone. You know, there's this saying, a fool and his money are soon parted. A fool and his money are soon parted. If there is anything that is easy to lose in this world, the easiest thing to lose is money. Let me say that again. The easiest thing to lose in this world is money. And the reason is because a lot of people don't ask questions. Okay, so you see somebody who says, I'm a fund manager, or if you give me 1 million, I'm going to give you 1.5 million in 2 weeks. People don't ask questions. So we need to ask questions, especially when people bring out some investment portfolio to us. What are they trading in? You must investigate before you invest. What are they trading in? What are their products? What are their services? Sometimes we may need to carry out background checks on some of these companies. Okay, what are the products they are trading in? What are their services? Carry out background checks. Do they have physical offices? What are their antecedents? Okay, have they done such similar investment before? Who are the people who can give testimonials to some of the things that they claim that they are doing? So it is important that you investigate before you invest. So many people throw money into investment they don't understand, and then they lose their money. So due diligence is key. And I want to encourage everybody listening to me this morning, please don't get involved in any get-rich-quick scheme or any Ponzi scheme. Don't get involved in them at all. I remember some years when MMM, was the wave of the moment. I went to our church and I said it openly. I warned people openly and I said, don't get involved. You don't know what they're doing with your money. Okay, they will say that. Then another one came and they said, get help. They called another one, get help. Another one was flip cash. And I said, you don't know what these guys are getting are involved in. Don't put your money into MMM, and I warned a lot of people, but so many people didn't listen, and then we started hearing very funny stories after the whole thing crashed. So don't get involved in Ponzi scheme. Don't get involved in get rich, quick schemes. If the return on any investment is too good to be true, then that investment is too good to be true. Let me say that again. If the return on investment is too good to be true for any investment, then that particular investment is too good to be true. And we also need to understand that the higher the risk, the higher the probability of loss. So many people will say, well, the risk is high, so the returns is very high. But at the same time, you need to understand that the higher the probability of loss when the risk is also high. Okay, so don't get into money doubling schemes. A lot of people want to blow, okay? They want to get rich overnight, okay? And so they don't investigate before they invest. Now, I tell people the safest way to double your money is to fold that money into two and put it in your pockets. That's the safest way to double your money. Any other money doubling scheme, I can tell you, it will always end in tears. It will also always end in tears. So the safest way for you to double your money is to fold your money and put it in your pockets. All right, so investigate before you invest. People will be coming with different business ideas. Okay, if you don't understand something, don't get involved in it. Don't outsource, okay, the understanding of that investment to another person. Okay, when they come with fancy ideas or beautifully written strategies, if you don't understand it, okay, or you don't see reason with it, don't investigate, don't invest. So you need to investigate before you invest. Let's move ahead this morning. Let's look at the third investment principle. The third investment principle, okay, and it's something that I started from that second one, is the best way to get rich is to get rich slowly. Let's have the third slide, please. The third slide. The best way to get rich is to get rich slowly. Okay, are you still here? Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, can I have the third slide?
Yes, loud and clear.
Third slide, please.
Yes, I see. It's coming up. Go ahead, sir.
So the best way to get rich is to get rich slowly. One of the things I tell people is success is not overnight. Success is over time. Success is not overnight. Success is over time. And you need to sit down and look at a lot of people who have won the lottery. Why is it that people who usually win the lottery, you come back to them a few years down the line, and then they are back to status quo? Okay, from statistics, available statistics, about 90% of people who win the lottery, you go back to their lives about 5 years down the line, and then they are worse off than before they won the lottery. Okay, it's because they don't understand how to manage money. They don't understand that there is a process. And the process, a lot of times, is more important than even the event. People need to understand that there are money skills. You need to understand how to manage money. There are 3 M's of money, managing money, okay, making money, and multiplying money. But for me, I believe that managing money is more important. It's more important than making money. It's more important than multiplying money. Okay? If you don't understand how to handle money, if you don't understand how to handle money, you don't understand the money management skills, you will make a lot of mistakes that are avoidable. Okay, so the best way to get rich is to get rich slowly. You need to understand the seed principle. You need to understand what I call the seed principle. The seed principle is everything big in life started small. Everything big in life started small. Everything starts as a seed. Okay, so you plant a seed in the ground. Okay, and when you plant a seed, you water it, you nurture it, okay, you give it time to grow. Sometimes you don't understand what is happening within the soil, but if you dig the soil and you remove the seed, you'll be killing it because there's a process of growth that is going on under the soil. But you need to water it, you need to be patient with it. After some time, you'll begin to see something small will come out. It may be tender, but you will need to nurture it. You will still need to continue to water it. You will need to give it sunshine. okay? And then it will begin to grow and grow and grow. After some time, it will grow to such an extent that it will begin to start giving you fruits. That's the seed principle. Everything big in life started small. So don't aim to blow overnight. There is a process. There is a process. So growth is a process. Financial growth is also a process. So it is very important that you understand that there is a process to everything. So the best way to get rich is to get rich slowly. That is why when you invest, there are principles and there is a process to investment. Okay, growth is a process. So you may need to save. That's the process. You begin to save on a monthly basis. Then you cut your expenses. There are certain things a lot of us need to cut off. Some people find it difficult to save because they are unable to watch their expense line. It's not every time you need to eat out. Okay, it's not every time you need to go to a fancy restaurant. Okay, it's not every time you need to take a bottle of soda. Okay, it's not every time you need to go to the cinema. You can actually sit in your house and also watch your cable TV and do some other things. So there are little expenses that you can cut. And what you are doing is you are understanding the process. Okay, you are saving, you are cultivating certain habits. You are avoiding waste, and then you are investing consciously. So don't try to blow overnight, because the best way to get rich is to get rich slowly. Okay, I guess there are some challenges with the slide. Okay, Robert, do we have challenges with the slides?
Yes, it's not, the transition is not happening.
Hello, Bayo. Sorry about that. We're having a bit of challenge with the slide.
Okay,
if you give us a couple of minutes, we will get that back up and running.
Okay,
just a few seconds, please.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, let me just hold on a few seconds.
Everyone, please bear with us. You all understand the impact of technology.
We're in Nigeria, we understand. So while that is being done, let me just recap what we have been able to do so far. Okay, we have looked at 3 investment principles, and we started from having a plan. Okay, if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. You need to be able to assess your current financial situation. Be very honest, where are you? Okay, when you are looking at your current financial situation. At times, you may need to have an accountability partner, somebody who sits together with you to look at exactly where you are. Some people, maybe what you need to concentrate on right now is how do you repay your debts? Over the past few weeks, I've been sharing certain things on Twitter on how to get out of debt, okay? For people who follow me on Twitter, you can please look at Greater Bayo. I have a lot of resources, a lot of information on how you can actually practically work your way, okay, from debt to a debt-free lifestyle. Okay, that may be what some people need to focus on. You look at your current financial situation. Okay, and I mentioned the fact that there are 3 major reasons for investment. No matter your current situation in life, no matter where you are either investing for safety, you are investing for income, or you are investing for growth. Okay, those are the 3 major buckets of investment reasons. So you also need to be able to find out, why are you investing? Are you investing because you want safety? Okay, you want to be able to maintain your current living standards. Okay, you're going to leave your job in a few years and you don't want your living standards to fall. Okay, or you're investing for income, you want additional income. Okay, you're building a new family, your children are getting old, you need to change their schools, they're getting to the university, okay, or you're going to get married and all that. Okay, so you're investing for income, you want additional income to be able to sustain your lifestyle or to be able to sustain your family, or you're investing for growth. Okay, you just want to build wealth over time, and which I think a lot of us should get involved in. You want to invest for growth. So you need to be realistic with your plan. Everybody must have a plan. Now I tell people, if nations have, 10-year development plans, 20-year development plans, 50-year development plans, why will individuals not have plans for their lives? Okay, at the beginning of this year, one of the things I taught them in our church was how to plan for a decade. How to plan for a decade. I actually believe in planning, ahead. Planning ahead. So you must have an investment plan. You must have a plan. Okay, it's very important for you to have a plan and then for you to review those plans periodically. Then we looked at the second investment principle, which is that you must investigate before you invest. You must investigate before you invest. Okay, and you must do due diligence. You want to invest in anything, please, due diligence is very key. It's very key. Don't just look at the returns. Don't just look at the promises. Don't just look at what people are saying. All right, it's important for you to look at, conducting due diligence on the company, on the investment, on some of their claims, on some of their promises. It's important for you to look at it. Don't just be swayed by the promises of high returns. I mentioned the fact that the higher the risk, the higher the probability of loss. Okay, and then well, the third one, which is the best way to get rich, is to get rich slowly. Thank God the slides are back. Okay, the best way to get rich is to get rich slowly. I started by saying that success is not overnight. Success is over time. It's over time. And I tried to also explain the seed principle. When you look at a seed, okay, a seed is very small. But a seed, so many years down the line, can give birth to a giant tree and oak, okay? But when the seed is planted, most of the times you don't know that anything is happening because the seed is under the ground. But you need to water it, you need to nurture it. If you begin to dig it up, you will destroy it. But you need to give it time. You need to be patient. So when you're talking about investment, it requires patience, okay? It requires time. Growth is a process. So many people want to become Dangote overnight, but it is not possible. It is a process, okay? People don't just become. Okay, we're having some interference. Maybe you need to mute everybody. Okay, maybe we need to mute everybody. Okay, so growth is a process. You cannot become, a Dangote overnight. It is not possible. You need to pay the price. It involves hard work, it involves dedication, it involves a lot of sacrifice, it involves you making your mistakes and learning from your mistakes, it involves you falling down and rising so many times. You need to understand that growth is a process. That is why I wrote here, understand the seed principle. So from the seed, after you have nurtured it, after you have planted, after you have watered, after some time, it begins to sprout. Now, when it sprouts, it's still very tender. So many things can still happen to it. The weather can still affect it. Okay? The fact that it has sprouted does not mean that it is going to grow. You still need to nurture it. There is a process. You water it. You are dedicated to it. Okay? At times you need to have some manure. At times you need to weed around it so that the weeds don't choke it. Okay? The weeds in our instance can be your expenses. You need to trim certain things down. Trim away some fats. Okay? So that you can get your financial life on track, okay? And then it begins to grow, and then it begins to grow until such a time that it will now grow consistently because you have been able to cultivate certain habits which help you, okay? So I want to encourage us, please don't try to blow overnight. So many people want to blow overnight. They want to do more than themselves, okay? So it's important for you to understand that the best way to get rich is to get rich slowly. Okay, let's go ahead to the fourth investment principle. The fourth investment principle is for you to have multiple streams. Multiple streams. Now, this became very important, especially to a lot of people during this last lockdown. By the time the lockdown started, and in Lagos, especially, I think it was about 5 or 6 weeks of total lockdown, also in some other states, so many people's income were affected. So many people could not go to work like before. Now, here's the question. What will happen to you if your current stream of income is blocked. If your current stream of income is blocked, what will happen? Now, there were certain people who were involved in certain businesses then that could not even make any single sale at that time. For example, people were not buying dresses. We were all on lockdown, so nobody was going anywhere. Okay, people were no longer buying wigs. Nobody was doing makeup. Okay, there were certain categories of businesses that were seriously affected. Hospitality industry was affected. Okay, hotels were shut down. Lounges were shut down. Okay, when you look at the entertainment industry, it was affected. People now began to start, thinking of other ways of generating income. I know a particular lady who used to sell clothes, somewhere in Magodo, was doing very well, had a very big Instagram followership, was selling, and all that. And then the business was affected during lockdown. People were no longer buying clothes. Okay, but then she was able to adapt very quickly, and then she became a personal shopper. And what was she shopping? Okay, you want to buy pepper, you want to buy tomatoes, you want to buy some other things from Mount Market, but you are elderly, you are aged, you can't go out because of COVID-19, then she became your personal shopper. Okay, and then she just made the transition from somebody who was selling fabrics to somebody who became a personal shopper. Okay, and she was very agile, and it was a major success. I know this woman very personally. So you need to begin to think of having multiple streams. What will happen if your current stream of income is affected or is blocked? Okay, now there are 5 things I want us to take note of here. 5 things. Number 1, your work, what you do, should not only be your stream. Your work, what you do, or your job, or your business, okay, your enterprise should not only be your stream. Okay, so if you are a banker like me, that should not only be your stream. Okay, you're a journalist, that should not only be your stream. Okay, whatever you do, whatever your source of income is right now, your work should not only be your stream. You should not have a single stream. Number 2, every gift that you have is a stream. Every gift that you have is a stream. Okay, some people can write. Okay, some people can sing. That is a stream. Okay, some people can plan. That is a stream. Anything, every gift that you have, any talent that you have is a stream. So all you need to do is to be able to harness it and monetize it. So every gift that you have is a stream. For example, I know that I can write well. Okay, I know I can write well. So I decided to start writing. Okay, and my books are additional streams of income to me. I'm also a public speaker. Okay, so I speak, and at times I'm paid for speaking, and that is also an additional stream to me. So every gift that you have, so you need to sit down and look at yourself. Okay, dimension your life, sit down. What gift do you have? Everyone has a gift in life. Everyone has a talent. Okay, number 3, anything you do well is a stream. That may not be a gift, but there are certain things you do well. There are certain things you excel in. Okay, people always call you to help them with certain things. That is a pointer to something that you are doing well. If people are always relying on you for you to be able to do certain things for them, that is a pointer to something you do well. All you need to do is to be able to sit down and find out how you can monetize it. So anything that you do well is a stream. Anything that you do well is a stream. Number 4, your personal investment is a stream. Okay, so if you have a certain investment, maybe you have put away money in a fixed deposit, that should also be a stream. It can generate an additional stream for you. And number 5, your inventions, your ideas, your intellectual properties, they're also streams. So if you have an idea, that is also a stream. Okay, it can be a business idea. Okay, you can invent something. Okay, you can have a right to an intellectual property. That is also a stream. So those 5 things, don't forget them. Okay, your work should not only be your stream. Every gift that you have is a stream. Anything that you do well is a stream. Your personal investment is a stream. Your ideas, your concepts, your investments, your intellectual properties, they there are also streams. So don't depend on only one stream of income. Don't depend on only one stream of income, especially now that we know that Naira is crashing, so many things are happening. Okay, when you compare the dollar rates, okay, the dollar conversion rates last year to now, you will see that a lot of people, their income has tanked. Their income has actually gone down, okay, because $100 last year is not the same as $100 this year. So if you were earning, let's say for instance, 50,000 naira per month last year, okay, your income has actually diminished when you compare it to the dollar. So you should have multiple streams of income. You should have multiple streams of income. Okay, so all you need to do is to be able to monetize your skills and abilities. How do I monetize it? This skill that I have, this gift that I have, how can I put everything together in such a way that it can begin to yield additional income for me? Okay, it can begin to yield additional income for me. Now, if you look at, let's go into the Bible. This is a church, so I want us to talk the scriptures a little bit. If you look at 2 Kings chapter 4, 2 Kings chapter 4 is the story of that woman whose husband just died. The husband was the son of the prophet. They had some sons, but the husband was owing so many people before he died. Okay, and the creditor came to take the children away. So the wife now ran to the prophet Elisha and was crying and was saying that my husband, died, leaving a lot of debt, and then the creditor has come to take our children. And then the prophet asked him a very simple question. He asked him, what do you have in the house? And the woman said, I don't have anything in the house except a jar of oil. She said, I don't have anything in the house except a jar of oil. And the prophet said, I'm paraphrasing now, he said, that is okay. A jar of oil is enough. What you need to do is go and borrow so many vessels. I believe a lot of us know this story. Go and borrow many vessels from your neighbors. He said, borrow so many, don't borrow a few. And when you have borrowed those vessels, additional jars, lock yourself in your house. Put those jars of oil, the empty jars there, and begin to pour from that single jar that you have. Okay? And the woman just obeyed the prophet. The children all over the place, looking for additional jars of oil, additional empty vessels. They brought those empty vessels into the house, and the woman started from just one jar of oil that she had. Now, the Bible said, as long as there were empty vessels, the oil did not stop. The oil kept on pouring and kept on pouring and kept on pouring until there was no more vessel. The moment she poured into the last vessel, then the oil stopped. She went back to the prophet, and the prophet said, okay, that's fine. Go and sell the oil, okay, pay your debt, and then you can live on the rest. Now, there are some principles we can look there in that particular story. Okay, a lot of people are waiting until their pot of oil is big. Until their pot of oil is big. This woman had only a jar of oil, and she thought she had nothing. Everybody has something. You can actually start from where you are, and from where you are, you can begin to have multiple streams of income. This woman thought she had nothing. She said, I don't have anything in the house except a jar of oil. Everybody has a jar of oil. Everybody. Now, I tell people that in your jar of oil, there are 5 things in your jar of oil. 5 things. Okay? You have ideas, you have skills, you have relationships, you have opportunities, and then time. Those 5 things make up everybody's jar of oil. Everybody has a jar of oil. Everybody. Everybody in the world has a jar of oil. And in your jar of oil, there are 5 things that make up your jar of oil. Okay? You have the first one that you have ideas. Okay? You have your skills. You have relationships. You have opportunities. And then you have time. I don't have time to go into the full details of those 5 things, but you should understand that everybody has a jar of oil. Now, don't wait until your pot of oil is big. You have a lot of people waiting until I start to make 1 million naira per month before I will start to invest. I want to start investing when I begin to make 10 million naira per month. Or when my business now becomes this big, that's when I'm going to start to invest. Okay, don't wait until your pot of oil is big. This woman had only a small jar of oil, and she thought she had nothing. What you have is enough for you to start. What you have and where you are is enough for you to start. So don't wait until you have your pot of oil is so big. Start with a pot of oil and begin to pour into other vessels. From one pot of oil, begin to create other vessels, begin to create other jars of oil. So you can be earning more income today, but from that singular income, you can work consistently until you begin to develop other streams of income. That's the point I'm making. Okay, so everybody should try to work on having multiple streams of income. Okay, so you need to have this question at the back of your mind. What will happen if your current stream of income is blocked? What is going to happen to you? Okay, let's move on to the fifth investment principle. Investment principle number 5 is cultivate a savings habit. Cultivate a savings habit. Okay, cultivate a savings habit. Let's go into the scriptures again. If you look at Genesis chapter 41, Genesis chapter 41 teaches us what I call the Joseph principle. Okay, that was when Joseph had been in prison for a long time. Then Pharaoh had a dream. Nobody could interpret the dream. And then they brought out Joseph from the prison to interpret the dream. And then Joseph came, interpreted the dream, said, oh, what you have seen is you're going to have 7 years of plenty, 7 years of abundance. And after that 7 years of abundance, you're going to have 7 years of famine. Okay, there's going to be scarcity in the whole land. There's not going to be any food, after the 7 years of abundance. And then the king was interested in, how do we solve this problem? And he said, well, there is a way you can solve the problem. The way you can solve the problem is those 7 years of abundance, you begin to put some things away. You begin to put some things away. And he suggested, he said, put away 1/5. 1/5 is 20%. Put away 20% of everything that you earn, of everything that you produce, and you keep them over those 7 years so that you can now begin to live on this 20% during the lean years. That's the Joseph principle. Now, you need to understand that in life, there are seasons of boom and then there are seasons of bust. Oh, almost everybody is going to experience a season of boom, okay? When things are going right for you, you have your income, everything is flowing. But be very careful because you're also going to have your seasons of bust. Your season of bust is when things are not going very well, when the income is not flowing like it used to. Okay, so what do you do during those lean seasons? You should have started practicing that Joseph principle. Put away 20% of whatever you earn and keep it in an interest yielding account. That was the Joseph principle. That was the principle that saved Egypt from that serious period of recession, okay, by keeping 1/5, just 20% of whatever they make. So I want to encourage everybody listening to me today to cultivate a savings habit. To cultivate a savings habit. Now, there was an article I wrote some time ago, a few months ago, which went viral, okay, on personal finance, the lessons my driver taught me. You can find it on Twitter. A lot of blogs also carried it. Personal finance lesson, the lessons my driver taught me. Now, some years ago, I was working for a particular bank and then we had a pool driver. His name is Mr. Lawal. And that day I was going on a marketing call. And we got to a particular place in Ibadan and then he pointed in the direction and said, Ogami, my house is just down that street. And then I looked at him and I asked him, I said, Mr. Lawal, your house? He said, yes. You mean your rented apartment or house? He said, no, the house I built, my own house. I built it, it's just down that road. And then I started to think, because at that time, I did not even have a plot of land, not to talk of starting to build a house. And I've been working for years. And I started thinking, because I knew his salary. I knew his salary was less than 40,000 naira. And I knew he was a widower. His wife was late. I knew he had about 3 children. I knew one of them was in a college of education. And I started looking at this man. And I was thinking, how can a driver, okay? I mean no disrespect, but how can a driver, knowing his income, he has built a house, but here I am, earning multiple of his salaries, of his salary, and I've not even bought a piece of land, a plot of land. And it got me thinking, I started observing him. I saw that every time we went out, you want to take him for lunch, you want to say, yeah, Mr. Lawal, join us. You say, no, Ogami, just give me the money. Okay, and then you give him the money, the man will keep the money. You know, he will never follow you to eat lunch. I saw that he brought food from his house. Okay, I saw the fact that he had a vehicle, he had a car, a small car that he normally brings to the office. He parks it, you know, when he gets to the office, and then he drives us. When he's going home again, he takes that same car. But that car is not for his personal convenience. He converts it to public transport every night. Okay, he becomes a cab driver every evening after he leaves work. And he works for some extra hours, you know, makes some extra income, and then closes for the day, and then comes back to work the next day. And I observed him. So the following day after he told me about his house, he saw me in the morning again, and he said, Oga, and I said, no, don't call me Oga again. You are my Oga, because there are certain things I need to learn from you. Okay, it was from that day that I developed a radical approach to the issue of personal finance. I started to learn from that driver. If a driver who was earning, you know, a certain percentage of my income could put money away and save and build a house. Now, when you are talking about a house, it doesn't need to build a fancy house. Okay, a lot of people just build fancy houses that they will not even need after some few years, or that will be dated. He didn't build a fancy house. Maybe it was just a 2-bedroom bungalow. Okay, but something that was convenient for him, something that he could live in, something he could call his own. Okay, I started to think that day, if a driver could put money away, save money, and build his house, and then, you know, sponsor his children, you know, through college, then I don't have any excuse. I don't have any excuse. Okay, and I tell people, if you can't save when you earn 20,000 naira monthly, you will not be able to save when you earn 2 million naira monthly. Let me say that again. If you find it difficult to save when you earn 20,000 naira monthly, you will not be able to save when you earn 2 million naira monthly. You know, the tendency for a lot of people is when they are making money, okay, they have an inclination to also spend more money rather than putting away more money. So that's the inclination a lot of people have. You are earning a lot of money right now, then you're also spending a lot of money. But the converse is what you should be doing. You should be putting away a lot of money. Put away money in a savings account or in an interest yielding account. So it is not really so much about the money that you are putting away, even though that is important, but it is important that you are cultivating a particular habit. And when you begin to develop and cultivate that habit will sustain you over time. So it's important that we all understand the Joseph principle. Let's go to investment principle 6. Investment principle 6, you start early and you stay for the long term. Start early and you stay for the long term. Start early and you stay for the long term. So the best time to start is now. I want to encourage everybody listening to me this morning, don't procrastinate. Don't put it away till tomorrow. Don't say, okay, next year I am going to start. Or when I begin to make XYZ amount of income, that's when I'm going to start investment. No, the best time to start is now. That 10,000 naira, that 20,000 naira means a lot. Okay, little drops make a mighty ocean. When you begin to put money, you know, little by little, and you put it away in a place, and then after some time, it becomes so much. You know, and that's one of the things we also need to teach our kids. I remember when I keep what we call kolo, you know, for my daughter, and then you encourage her to be putting money away. Somebody gives her money, you say, go and keep it inside your kolo. Okay, go and keep it inside your kolo. And then by Christmas, you break it open, and then you see a lot of money. You wouldn't even have known that you have kept that much away. I remember one particular year, was it last year or 2 years ago? You know, we broke the box, and then we started counting the money. And we started counting the money, everything that she had kept in her kolo, you know, from the beginning of the year. We started counting, and it was a lot. It was a lot. So we need to understand that the earlier we start, the better. Okay? Don't put away what you can start today, don't put it away till tomorrow. So when you start early, one of the advantages of starting early is you make your mistakes also early. You make your mistakes early and you are able to learn from your mistakes. Okay, and early start also helps you to understand your risk appetite. Okay, can I take this kind of risk? What kind of risk can I take? What kind of money can I put away? Am I willing to take a high risk, a moderate risk, or a low risk? Okay, and then I encourage everybody that investment should be for a lifetime. Okay, we should also aspire to leave a legacy for our kids. So while it is good to invest for the short term, put money away because I want to buy a car, put money away because I want to build a house, put money away because there's certain things I want to do, I want to fund my education. We should also invest for a long term, okay? Investment should be for a lifetime, something that we can put together and leave a legacy even for our children, okay? And let's look at the final investment principle, okay? Get financially literate. Get financially literate. I usually tell people, educate your ignorance, okay? If you have a problem with finances, that means that you have an ignorance problem in that area. Whichever area of your life where you have a problem, okay, that place is where you need wisdom. So if you have problem with finances, you have problem with investments, what you need to do is to educate your ignorance, okay? Get financially literate. There are a lot of books on financial literacy that people can read. And the more you read, the better you get. The better you get. I want to recommend a few books this morning. Maybe some of us have read those books, but you can also go back and read those books again. Get financially literate. Okay, get financially literate. There are so many people who are ignorant financially. They don't know about investment. They don't know about investment plans. They don't know about savings. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to get out of debt. So the very first thing you need to do is you need to get financially literate. Okay, so I'm going to recommend a few books. Richest Man in Babylon by Richard Classen is a classic. It's a very good book. I want to encourage you to get that book. It's a book you can read under 1 hour. But it's a book that once you read it, it will change your paradigm. Okay, it will change your, the way you think. It's a fantastic book, The Richest Man in Babylon. The Richest Man in Babylon by Richard Classen. Okay, you can also get Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. It's also a very, very good book. It's also a very, very good book. I also want to encourage you to buy Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Okay, it's an all-time classic also. So those 3 books are very good. I want to encourage people to get all the 3 or any one of the 3. The Richest Man in Babylon, okay, by Richard Classen, Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, and Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. All right, so those are the 7 investment principles. Now let's go to God's system of wealth. I'm going to round up with God's system of wealth. And there are about 4 basic things I'm going to speak about here, and then we will call it a day for this webinar. Now, let's look at the Bible. What the Bible says in Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 18. Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 18. Okay? And I'm going to paraphrase. God was talking to the Israelites, and he said, when you get into the promised land, don't forget that God, I am the one that gives you the power to get wealth. So when you get into the promised land and you have become rich, you have become successful, you have become powerful, you have money, he said, don't forget one thing, that I am the one that gave you the power to get wealth. Now, when you look at God giving the power to get wealth, he didn't say, I am the one that gave you money. God doesn't give money. A lot of people go to church and they are praying for money. God does not give money. People need to understand that. What God gives is the power to make wealth. When you're talking about power to make wealth, it's talking about God helps you with your capacity. He gives you the ability to make wealth. God gives ideas. He gives concepts. He gives innovations. But so many people nowadays, especially a lot of Christians nowadays, they pray for money. God does not give me, he doesn't give money. Okay, so all these songs, they do marry, give me money. Oh, no. God is not going to answer that kind of prayers. God doesn't give money. Okay, God gives ideas. God gives concepts. God will drop, an idea into your mind. And if you can work on those ideas and execute those ideas, then you will get money. But God does not give money. If anybody gets money from heaven, it's going to be counterfeit money. Because there is nowhere in heaven that they are minting money. Okay, any money that you will get from heaven will be counterfeit money. Because there is nowhere in heaven that they mint money. So God gives ideas. God gives concepts. God will drop some innovative ideas, some innovations in our hearts. And when we work on those ideas, when we execute those ideas brilliantly, they can guarantee our financial future. I also gave a biblical reference here, Genesis chapter 31. Genesis chapter 31 from verse 7 to 12. Very good story, which I encourage everybody to also read. It's the story of Jacob. Okay, Jacob, his wages had been changed so many times. He was working for his uncle called Laban. Okay, he was working for his uncle called Laban, and he had worked for his uncle. His uncle had cheated him a couple of times. Okay, cheated him first way by he wanted to marry Rebecca. They gave him Leah. Okay, worked for 7 years, and then worked for another 7 years to get the woman of our dreams. And then started working for his uncle like a slave. And then the uncle changed his wages, his salary so many times. They will have an agreement on a particular wage, a particular salary, and the guy will renege on the agreement. Okay. But one day, Jacob slept. Jacob slept. And then he said an angel of the Lord came to him and gave him an idea. What was that idea? The idea was about genetic mutation. That's the very first place we'll be hearing about genetic mutation, and it's in the Bible, Genesis 31, verse 7 to 12. Okay, and what was the idea? He saw that he stood before where those sheep and goats, don't forget that it was an animal, he was into animal husbandry, okay, and he was a herdsman, and he will go to where those animals, those sheep, those goats, where they were, feeding and where they were mating. At the same time, where they are feeding, they are also mating, okay? And it's not the fact that they were in front of what they call all these bamboo sticks were right there. And anytime that those single plain colored animals are in front of those bamboo strips that are spotted and speckled, okay, that have strips on them, when they mate and then they give birth, they will give birth exactly to what they were looking at. Let me just talk about this plainly. It is very, very difficult or almost impossible for two black people to give birth to a white child, okay, except by genetic mutation. That was exactly what happened in that Genesis chapter 31. So he had that idea, and then he went to meet Laban and said, Laban, I have an idea, okay? Take away from these animals anyone that is spotted or speckled, anyone that has stripes. Give me the animals that are plain color. If these animals that are plain color, if they give birth and they give birth to anything that has stripes, whatever they give birth to that has stripes belongs to me. Okay? And then Laban laughed because genetically that was impossible. It's impossible for two black people to give birth to a white child. So Laban laughed, and Laban said, okay, that's fine, if that is what you want. So he took away every animal that was striped away from him and gave him the animals that were just plain colored. But Jacob had that idea. It was a divine revelation from above, and then put them in front of those bamboo sticks, ensured that those bamboo sticks were spotted and speckled and striped, and was looking at them as they were mating and as they were drinking. And over time, those same animals began to give birth to animals that were spotted and speckled and striped. And that was the story of how Jacob made his wealth. So all those animals, plain animals, were just giving birth to animals that were speckled and spotted and striped. And that was how he made his money. He made his money so much, it became so big that Laban began to envy him. There was so much jealousy and he had to leave. So it's important that we understand that God doesn't give money. What God gives is ideas. I pray for you this morning that God will open your mind to ideas. So anywhere you go, carry around your jotter, okay, with your pen, and begin to think of ideas. If there is a problem around you, how can you solve this problem? What idea can you generate? Okay, there's something going on in your office. What can you do to make it better? So you need to begin to generate ideas. God doesn't give money. What God does is he gives ideas, he gives concepts, he gives innovations. So we're talking about God's system of work. Let's look at the second thing now. The second thing, finances will never flow to a lazy man. It's important that we all understand that. Finances will never flow to a lazy man. We have a generation of people, especially in the church, who are lazy. They will rather spend time praying to God for money, staying in church from morning to night, rather than work. Finances will never flow to a lazy man. You cannot build something on nothing. Okay, we need to begin to encourage the culture of hard work in church again. We need to encourage the culture of hard work, especially among our young people. You look at a lot of young people, is it that there is no employment? Yes, I believe that we have an unemployment problem. We have it. But you still see a lot of young people who are not able to take advantage of even the ones that they have around. They think they have outgrown that particular job. I used to tell people that before I started my banking job, I was a driver. I was a salesman, a driver. I was driving a bus and I was selling, you know, always sanitary pads. Okay, I sold, you know, shampoo. Okay, and my salary was 8,000 naira per month. So I was a driver, I was a salesman. I've shared my story on Twitter and it's on a lot of blogs. Okay, when I clocked the 20-year milestone in my career this year, I shared that story and it went viral. Okay, I was a salesman. I've taught in a primary school before. I was a primary school teacher. Okay, so many years ago, and I'm not afraid to say it. So I tell people, finances will never flow to a lazy man. A lot of people are saying, no, I don't want to start from that level. Come on, start from that level. Start, but don't stay there. Don't stay there. Because finances will never flow to a lazy man. I want to read that Proverbs 26. I want to read that Proverbs 26. I'm going to round up shortly. I want to read that Proverbs 26 for everybody to hear, and then we'll take a few things from there, and then we'll go on. Proverbs 26, if you have your Bible, Proverbs 26, and then I'll read from verse 13 to 16. We want to look at the characteristics of a lazy man. Okay, and then we will look at, from that characteristics of a lazy man, we will look at 4 core things that a business, especially if you're a businessman here, or a businesswoman, or you're an entrepreneur, 4 core things your business must imbibe. Now, let's look at the characteristics of a lazy man. Proverbs 26, verse 13 to 16. It says, the slothful man saith, there is a lion in the way, a lion is in the streets. As the door turns upon his hinges, so does the slothful upon his bed. Okay, the slothful, that's verse 15. The slothful hides his hand in his bosom. It grieves him to bring it again to his mouth. And verse 16 says, the sluggard is wiser in his own conceit than 7 men that can render a reason. Okay, the Bible is talking about the characteristics of a lazy man here. And we can apply those characteristics to our businesses. Because there are 4 core things a business must imbibe. Now, look at that verse 13. The person who is slothful, who is lazy, says, there's a lion in the way. There's a lion in the street. So because he says there's a lion in the street, he's afraid to go out. He's afraid to go out. So the first thing a business must imbibe is you must not be afraid of taking risk. Don't be afraid of taking risk. Okay, it says there's a lion in the way. There's a lion in the street. And because there's a lion in the street, he doesn't want to go out. I once had a customer, okay, in one of the financial institutions I worked for, who told me, you know, every year, towards the end of the year, I sit down with my major clients and I ask them what is their plan for the next year. What's their plan for the next year? So I sat with this man who was a non-Nigerian, was a foreigner, you know, and I sat with him and I was asking him, what's your plan for next year? And he told me, I want to shut down my business in Lagos and I'm moving to Kano. And that was in the heat of Boko Haram. That was around 2013, 2014, when a lot of bombing were going on, especially in the north. And he told me, I want to shut down my business in Lagos. He had a construction company in Lagos, very big one. He said, I'm shutting it down and I'm moving up north. And I said, are you not afraid of all the security situation in the north at that time? Okay, are you not afraid? Almost every week, there's one bomb that goes off and all that. And he laughed at me. He said, well, whether I'm afraid or not, I will die one day. He said, if I decide to stay in my house and I don't go out, I will still die. You know, like we say it here, all die, not die. You know, a lot of people are afraid of taking risks. And then he explained certain things to me that changed my perception, that changed a lot of things, okay, that gave me a paradigm shift. He told me, he said, you know, I run a construction firm right here in the South. You know, I'm only able to work about 3 months in a year because almost throughout the year it rains. It rains for a minimum of 8 months. And I still have to pay salaries to all my staff, even though it is raining and I cannot do any work. And he said, this South is so developed. You know, I have a lot of construction companies that are vying for the few jobs that are here because so many roads are being done already. He said, but if I move to the North, okay, anytime they see rain, they must rejoice. Sometimes they need to pray before they get rain. He said, so I can work for about 9 months or almost 10 months in a year without thinking of rain stopping me. Okay, and then they have a lot of roads that are undeveloped. Now, because of that fear of the security situation, many people are moving away. But I am moving there so that I can be able to compete very well. I will have few competition with me and I'll get more jobs. And I looked at them and I said, wow, okay, what people are running away from, that is where it is running towards it. So don't be afraid of taking risk. That's the first thing. It says there's a lion in the way, there's a lion in the street. So if you run a business, don't be afraid of taking risk. Number 2, 4 core things a business must abide by. We're looking at that, Proverbs chapter 26. It says that, and I'm looking at verse 14, as the dog turns upon his hinges, so the slothful upon his bed. You know, how the dog creaks when it is turning on its hinges. That lethargic way. So if you run a business, you must not be lethargic. Agility is very key. You know, the Bible says it's slothful, you know, the way he rises from his bed, very lethargic, he's not agile. You need to be able to be agile, you need to adapt, especially during this period where we're just recovering from COVID-19, and then, you know, the EndSARS protest also came, okay? You must be agile in your business, you must adapt, okay? For you to be able to survive, you must be able to adapt and you must be very agile. You must be able to, you know, move on to, you know, convert very, very fast. Be very, very agile. If you are lethargic, your business is going to die. Your business is going to die. You must be able to convert from offline to online very quickly. Look at a lot of schools. Before the shutdown, there was hardly any school in Nigeria doing online schooling. But right now, almost every school has an online school platform. That's agility. That's being able to adapt very quickly because of the exigencies of the moment. So if your business is not able to adapt because of the exigencies of the moment, you will find it difficult to survive. Okay, number 3, okay, looking at verse 15, it says the slothful hides his hand in his bosom and it grieves him to bring it again to his mouth. Okay, businesses will involve being inconvenienced. Okay, so you must be ready to leave your comfort zone. Don't think about this is how we have always been doing it. This is the way we have always been doing our business. Okay, I am comfortable with this. No. Businesses will involve inconvenience. You will be inconvenienced. You must leave your comfort zone for you to make it in life, for you to grow, for you to move ahead, for you to get ahead, for you to prosper. You must get out of your comfort zone. You will be inconvenienced. The process of growth is a process that will make you a bit inconvenient. It will stretch you. So if you are into business and you want to grow, you must stretch. And the process of stretching is a process that will bring some pain. And finally, verse 16, it says that sluggard is wiser in his own conceit than 7 men that can render reason. Okay, the sluggard, okay, the lazy man, he doesn't listen to counsel. People will advise him, but he will still want to do whatever is in his mind. So you must listen to sound counsel to improve. You want to improve the way you work, okay, go to seminars like this. Okay, there are so many resources on YouTube. There are so many books. You must listen to sound counsel to improve. So finances will never flow to a lazy man. We're talking about the importance of hard work. Hard work. Let's go to the next slide now. Solve a problem. We're looking at God's system of wealth. God's system of wealth. We've spoken about ideas, how God does not give money. All what God does is He gives you ideas. That's God's system of wealth, ideas. Okay. The second one is for the fact that finances will never flow to a lazy man. So God's system of wealth is hard work. The foundation is hard work. And then the third one is about solving a problem. It's about solving a problem. Now, many people don't understand the concept of money. And when you look at money, what is actually money? Money is a reward for getting something done. You don't get something done, you don't get that reward. And that reward is money. Okay, so money is a reward for getting something done. When you get your salary at the end of the month, if you're somebody who is in a paid employment here, it is because you got something done. That's why you were paid a salary. If you are a contractor there, it is because you executed a contract. That is why you got your contract proceeds. Money is a reward for getting something done. So if you don't have money, it is because you are not getting something done. It is because you are not solving a problem. So money is a reward for solving a problem. 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 25, and I'll paraphrase. That was the story of David and Goliath. David was a shepherd boy, and David just went to deliver food to his brothers, and he saw Goliath. He saw a problem, and he saw everybody in Israel running away from Goliath, running away from the problem. So he asked a question, which I think everybody should ask. He said, what will happen to the person that kills Goliath? That was the question he asked. What will happen? What will the king do? What will happen? What is the reward for the person who solves this problem of Goliath? Now, anytime I take on a new responsibility or a new role, or I want to take on a new role, that's one of the questions I ask myself. What will be done to me if I solve this problem? Okay, if I solve this problem, what is going to be done? So, and somebody answered him and he said, anybody that kills Goliath, 3 things will happen. He said, the king will give him riches. He's going to be a very rich man. He said, secondly, the king, he will marry the king's daughter. He's going to be the king's in-law. And thirdly, his family will no longer pay taxes in Israel. He said, wow. So anytime you solve a problem, you get rewarded on 3 levels. Anytime you solve a problem, you get rewarded on 3 levels. Number 1, you get affluence. You get affluence. Just like they told David, he will become a rich person. So you are enriched with great riches. You get affluence. When you solve a problem, people pay you money. That's affluence. Okay, people pay you a bonus. Okay, you get proceeds of your contract. Okay, you solve a problem, you get rewarded, you get affluence. Second thing you get when you solve a problem, you get influence. Okay, that they told David, you are going to become the king's in-law. You will marry the king's daughter. So you get influence. Your influence increases. Okay, that is what happens to you when you get a promotion. Your influence increases. Okay, and then you get exemption. Okay, say your family will no longer pay taxes in Israel. You are free in Israel. You get exemption. That exemption can be goodwill. And people can live on a goodwill for a long time. The perception about you will change. People see you as a problem solver. And because you're a problem solver, when you even get into certain things, they are willing to all give you that benefit of that, okay? So 3 things happen to you when you solve a problem. You get affluence, you get influence, and then you get exemption. So you must be a solution provider. You must be a solution provider. And finally, okay, we're looking at God's system of wealth. Is if you play well, people will pay you well. Number 4, if you play well, people will pay you well. If you pay well, people will pay you well. Okay, we can get that from 1 Samuel chapter 16, from verse 14 to 17. That was when the Bible said an evil spirit from God came upon Saul. Okay, so Saul was disturbed, he was depressed. Okay, and when that evil spirit comes on him, the only solution is for anybody that can play music very well. So they were looking for somebody who could play very well. And then they identified David. And in that place, they said that there is somebody who can play very well, and they brought him. Okay, so if you play well, people will pay you well. So you need to focus on your skills. So God's system of wealth is about your skills. Focus on your skills. What can you do well? And when you look at skills, your skills is a sum total of 3 things. Your talent, how well you practice, and structured learning. So if you have a talent, what you need to do is you go for structured learning. Okay, learn more about that talent. Okay, if you need to go to school about it, or you need to do some extra training or train yourself on YouTube or some other available resources, do that. Okay, and then you practice. So skills equals your talent plus practice plus structured learning. What you should aim for is to become an expert, to become a consultant, because if you play well, people will pay you well. So that is your skill. So God's system of wealth, give me the final slide now. God's system of wealth is predicated on 4 things. It's predicated on ideas, plus hard work, plus solution, plus skills. Okay, we're on the final slide now. God's system of wealth is predicated on ideas, plus your hard work, plus you being a solution provider, and you being able to use your skills. Thank you very much. Thank you. I've come to the end of the webinar. I don't know if we can take a few questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bayo. That was truly an exciting presentation. I am almost certain everybody that has joined has gained something. We truly appreciate it. In fact, we had gone beyond the time, but I know that our people were stuck to their systems. They really enjoyed your presentation, and the learning will stay with us for a very long time. As you have said, we will go to the Q&A session now. We are going to allow a few people ask questions. And also, if you want to, you can go on the chat and drop your questions, where I will be picking them up and asking Mr. Bayo directly. But before I go into that, I will just quickly recap. I'll do a quick recap of the 7 principles that I talked about first, and then the 4 ways of wealth of God. The first is to have a plan. Second is to investigate before you invest. Third is the best way to get rich is to get rich slowly. Number 4 is to have multiple streams. Number 5 is cultivate a savings habit. Number 6, start early and stay for the long term. And finally, he said, get financially literate. Someone has put up already the 3 books he had recommended for us. So if you have time and you're able to, please buy those books and read. For God's system of wealth, he has talked about God does not give money. The second point he has raised there is finances will never flow to a lazy man. The third point there is seek to solve a problem. And finally, he said, if you play well, people will pay you well. I think these are very, very wonderful points that a lot of us, or in fact, all of us, would make use as we move forward from today. I'll just quickly point to 1 or 2 points he made along the way. He has talked about success not being overnight. It is over a period of time. I think that cannot be overemphasized. You do not look to get money overnight. You look at it over a period of time. He mentioned that you cannot become a Dangote overnight. Let's bring it to him. Even Dangote did not become Dangote overnight. It took him a bit of time. And one other important point he mentioned is what would happen if your current stream of income is blocked. The COVID has taught a lot of us new lessons. No one expected 2020 to come out in the way it has come out, but things have happened, but we know God has a way of solving our problems. However, we need to start to ask ourselves, this is what I do, this is my stream of income, what additional stream of income do I need? I think one other important point before I go into the questions and answer is your work should not only be your stream of income. Don't allow your work be your only stream of income. For most of us, I believe we have joined the session from the beginning. The slides will be available after this. And in fact, this session has been recorded, so you can take your time if you didn't join us at the beginning to look at the question, to look at the old slide again. So I'll go to questions. If you have questions, please simply signify by raising up your hands. We would unmute you. Just a second, please. If you have questions, please simply signify by raising your hand and we will take your questions from here. But I will start by being the first to ask a question. And I hope Mr. Bayo will be able to do justice to that particular question. Okay. So nowadays, you talked a lot about investment and putting our money in interest yielding account. What kind of advice do you have for people in this period where interest yielding accounts are almost at 0%? What kind of investment do you think our people can go into?
Okay, very good question. There are different investment plans that people can have. Even though you can see that things like treasury bills and so many things are now far below 1%, far below what the yield that a lot of people used to get some years back. But nevertheless, there are still a lot of financial institutions that have different products that can still give you a certain mileage over your investments. It might not be as aggressive as it used to be, but definitely some of those returns are a little bit more than what you can get on the maybe the treasury bills or some other areas. Okay, you can actually also talk to your. I belong to an investment club where we actually invest some of our money in stocks, and there are some stocks that have done very well. I will not be able to mention those names right here on the platform here. Okay, so that it doesn't seem as if I'm giving a financial advice like that, okay? But you need to be able to speak to maybe your investment manager or your portfolio manager, and they'll be able to advise you. But I know in my own investment club that I belong to, there are certain stocks that we have invested in this year, okay? And it has given us very, very good returns, almost 100% returns in some cases. But don't forget, it's an investment club where we pool funds together. So it's not as if it's only me, but it's a lot of funds from different people that we pull together to be able to invest. Okay, so there are certain products. Some of them are in Nigeria. Some of them, if you have resources and you can invest outside the country, okay, you will get some, returns that are a little bit higher than the normal savings accounts, or you can put your money also in fixed deposits. Okay. It's not as aggressive as it used to be, but that rate is still a little bit more than what you have in the normal savings account. But beyond all these liquid instruments, there are also certain things that people can take advantage of, especially considering the skills you have, considering what you do and what you can also do, some multiple streams of income. For instance, I'm involved in agriculture. I think agriculture is the only thing in our constitution that everybody is encouraged to do. Is in Nigeria's constitution. If you're a banker, you can have a farm. Okay, you can do poultry. People still eat. Okay, some years ago, I used to farm yam. I have a farm for yam, for pineapples. Okay, because people will still eat. Okay, I do some poultry. Okay, have where I sell it to, you buy your day-old chicks. Okay, you broom for 6 to 8 weeks, and then you sell off, and then you start another cycle, you make some profit. So all you need to do is to look at what is my passion? What can I do very well? Because some of these things you need to go and learn or go and train for it, okay? What capacity do I have? Okay, if I'm not able to, have multiple streams of income in the area of being an entrepreneur, starting an additional side also of business, can I put my money away in the savings account, where it will yield some minimum returns for me over a period of time, okay? And then I can begin to think of where do I invest that particular amount of money that will also yield something higher for me in future. So I think it's a mix of several things that you can do.
All right, thank you very much. The floor is now open for questions. Please signify if you want to ask a question, simplify by raising up your hand. I would unmute your line so that we can take your questions. Alternatively, you can type out your questions and I would read them for the guest speaker to handle. So please
There
feel
is a
free to
hand
ask
raised.
questions.
But there's a
Brother
hand raised.
Muyiwa.
I think the Delta company has its hand raised. If the person
Delta.
can just speak.
All right.
All right, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, good morning.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Bayo, for having us today. I mean, it's been a very insightful session.
Thank you.
A lot of points learned. Yeah, I actually read your story about the driver and his saving attitude of some time online, and I mean, it was a very, very interesting piece. So back to my question. You talked about in the second principle, investigating before planning, and you gave the instance of the MMM and all. Okay, now there's an investment firm that has been introduced to me, and initially I was asking questions too. The returns are not so fantastic, but I mean, compared to what we can have compared to other investment portfolios, the returns were quite good. I went to the company, I went to their premises, the building. I noticed it was a rented building, you know. But what, just to cut the chase, what ways can we do to make sure we are really investigating? Are there bodies out there that can help us in investigating these firms, you know, besides just our own asking questions there and there, finding out, are there bodies we can reach out to get relevant information on this investment firm? I saw on their building, they had the certificate of SCOM. Is a body under EFCC for anti-money laundering and lights.
Okay.
But I would have appreciated it as a body that would really
go
out
very
and
much, Delta company.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Very, very good question, and it's very, very important. And a lot of people have lost their money. A lot of people have lost their funds because they did not do due diligence. Okay, you see a lot of people who said they are fund managers, okay, who are portfolio managers, but they are not actually registered to be portfolio of fund managers. Okay, and I know that in Nigeria, the company that registers a lot of these people is SEC. Okay, Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC. So a lot of times you may need to ask for their SEC certificates. If they are registered as portfolio managers, I mean, it will be there. Okay, and if it is not there, if you cannot see it on their walls, you need to ask questions. Okay, who registered them? Which body registered them? Okay, because every organization is regulated. If you are a financial organization, you are in the financial space. Okay, and you do wealth management or you do portfolio management. Okay, there is a body that regulates you. Okay, there's a body that is in charge, where if there's any problem, you can actually write to that body to complain about maybe they are into unethical practices. You can actually write to that body and complain, and they stand the risk of their license being withdrawn. Okay, so you have bodies that register them. Okay, a lot of them must have their SEC certificate, Securities and Exchange Commission, or the likes. So if they are not registered by such bodies, I think you need to exercise caution. Okay, you need to exercise caution. It's just like a bank. A bank cannot have a license to operate, okay, without the license being given by the Central Bank of Nigeria. You cannot just set up a bank today and say, I am a bank and I'm collecting deposits from people. Okay, you are regulated. So you need to ask them for their practicing license. Their practicing license. Okay, so if they're a fund manager, a portfolio manager, they must have a practicing license, okay, given by a registered body. So that is a pointer to whether they are registered to be able to do what they say they do. But beyond that, beyond the registration also, try to find out their antecedents. Go online. Okay, if a company cannot leave any trace online, then there's a problem. There's a problem. So go online, check. Okay, maybe there are certain complaints that people have made in times past. For me, one tool I found very, very important, even to me as a banker, if I'm searching for any information on certain companies or whatever, and I go online, I really do not I go to Nairaland. Nairaland is one site I have found to be very useful. Okay, just go there and put something in your searching box. Somebody somewhere would have said something about that particular company, you know, in the past. Okay, so go online, search, look for the antecedents, possibly try to get testimonials from people who have experienced their service before, and follow your guts. I tell people, follow your gut. If you have an unease in your spirit about something, please hold on. Hold on and carry out more investigation. If you're not very comfortable about something, please, no matter the pressure, don't do it. Maybe there's a check in your spirit, okay? Don't do it. Just give it some more time. Time is a great revealer of things. Give it some more time. Ask some more questions. Don't easily part with your money. You see, money, you know, you have spent so much of your time and your life to make that money. Don't give it away easily, except you are very sure. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bayo. The Delta company, I believe your question has been well dealt with. We don't have too many questions again. I believe most of us are still wowed by the presentation and are taking our time to digest it. We have had a very long day. We had planned this event for 1 hour. At this particular point in time, we have used about 1 hour, 40 minutes. This is a testament to how interesting and useful the presentation by Mr. Bayo has been. Over 50 of our members have joined, and I believe that others would be taking time to watch the video afterwards and make use of the video recording